Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. It's a real pleasure to join you today. I want to first thank Women for Biodiversity and partners for convening this important dialogue and for inviting me to provide some opening remarks. My name is Marion Marigo. I'm a senior advisor at UNDP, and my expertise lies in supporting countries in using available data, including geospatial data, for decision-making around the update and the revision of their 𝗙𝗵𝗹𝗶. And all of this with a strong focus on the biodiversity gender nexus. So I'm delighted to be back with this group following an excellent day of discussion that happened in 𝗀𝗵𝗹𝗶 for those who had a chance to attend. So the theme of today's discussion, integrating gender equality into ecosystem restoration, is one that really lies at the heart of ensuring that restoration is not just effective for nature, but it is also a fair and inclusive process for people. Across the world, women are on the front lines of biodiversity stewardship. I'm not saying anything new here. They are seed keepers, they're farmers, they're water managers, they're community leaders, and their traditional knowledge and sustainable practices are woven into the resilience of ecosystem. And yet, too often, these contributions remain invisible in the data that we use, and they remain undervalued in the policy and unsupported even in the financial investment. Women lack secure land rights, access to finance, or even a seat at the decision-making table. And when that's the case, restoration efforts risk being less effective and less sustainable and less just. And that's why gender data, or gender responsive data, as we can say, matters. Without gender data, we cannot see the full picture of who is contributing, who is benefiting, and where the inequities and inequalities persist. Gender disaggregated data allows us to identify the gaps, whether it is in the land tenure, whether it is accessing to the tools and technology, or even participating in governance. And once we identify those gaps, we can then design better policies and programs that respond to the reality of both women and men. And that's where technology has a powerful role to play. New geospatial data and new geospatial tools, mobile platform, participatory planning, can really make women's knowledge and experiences more visible and used. For example, mapping land use or restoration initiatives with a gender lens can reveal patterns that are otherwise hidden, right? Such as women that might be managing degraded lands or community forests in a different manner. These insights can feed directly into national biodiversity strategies and action plan, the infamous 𝗙𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗶, but also into monitoring frameworks and in general into the global reporting under the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Platforms like the UN Biodiversity Lab, for instance, are an excellent example of how open geospatial data can be democratized and made accessible to government, civil societies, local communities. By using tools like this, countries can integrate gender perspective into their biodiversity planning. They can strengthen inclusive monitoring, and they can ensure that women's role and contribution are visible in the national and the global reporting. They're also key in making 𝗙𝗵𝗹𝗶 actionable, and by that I mean, an 𝗙𝗵𝗹𝗶 that can be acted upon or put into practice, right? Imagine what we can get if we combine actionability and equal access to technology for both men and women. There are many reasons to be optimistic. At UNDP, along with UNEP and the CBD Secretariat and the GEF, we are supporting 139 countries to update their biodiversity strategies and preparing their national report. We are seeing more and more countries integrate gender indicators and develop gender action plan. These are, of course, encouraging signs, but we know that there's still much work to be done to ensure that women's voice and their knowledge and leadership are fully recognized. As we begin today's session, I invite you to reflect on how gender responsive data and technology can help us move from vision to action, from acknowledging women's critical role in restoration to embedding it in the way we measure, we design, and we implement our work. And by doing so, we can ensure that restoration efforts deliver not only on healthier ecosystem, which is also important, but also stronger and more equitable societies. Thank you again and enjoy the session.